Today I'm here with my good friend Jeff Rhodes, mentor, Aussie legend, even though he doesn't want to be referred to of that. He's been there, done that. We're just going to talk through a lot of his career from when it began in WA to Adelaide to Sydney to now. Jeff's a lot of things. He's a gatekeeper, a custodian, but most of all, as one of the business cards said, master of the wisecrack. Thanks for coming in today.
No problem.
How you been anyway? Good?
Yeah, good.
How's the trip in? You come in from up the mountains today?
Yeah, I drove down to Penrith and
Yep.
trained it from there.
Right. So I know you're originally West Australian.
Yep.
What's your first memories of tattoos?
First tattoo I got, 15.
Yep.
Was Ricky Luda just opened a shop over Rockingham.
Yep.
So all the young punks going in, getting something done, you know. And then I really didn't get anything for another year or two.
Yep.
I got another one off Bobby Miller, Dino Miller,
Okay.
who were working out of Bobby Thornton's shop.
Yep.
And then I started to like it.
And you're still what, 15, 16?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I started being interested in looking into it and stuff. When I was about 18, 19, I started getting some gear.
Yep. Where'd you get that gear from back then? The trading post?
No, that's Paul and Rogers.
Okay, yep.
Like they used to run out of the big Easy Riders.
Yep.
So I started getting stuff from there. And then when I was about probably 19, 20,
Yep.
there was an ad in the newspaper for someone selling machines. So I answered that, and a guy called Dave Shannon came to see me. And Dave was tattooing out of a caravan up in Port Hedland.
Right.
Yeah.
Like mining areas?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I started with him, and we started going up there and doing stuff. But that never ended well.
Yep. So what, you just turning up to a miner's site or a pub and just setting up and tattooing?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then, yes, after I left him, just working from home for a while.
Yep.
And then he came back and I was working in the shop with him in Armidale. And before that I was seeing Wayne Bonney. I don't know if you know. He started showing me some more stuff and whatever. And I was working with him in the shop in Armidale until he upset AJ and
Yep.
didn't end well.
Yep.
So then I just thought about owning my own shop and got a little bit of help from Ricky and AF and opened the shop in Albany in West Australia.
Right. But just back to Ricky and AJ, you knew them from childhood, is that correct? Or roughly?
Like AJ, I went to school with AJ's brother.
Right, okay.
And yes, I'd known him a long time, you know.
Yep.
Ricky, I met him when I was 15.
Yep.
So yeah, and eventually they gave me a hand and opened the shop.
And around then in WA, this is what, 80s?
Yeah, early 80s.
I imagine there's what, 10, 15 tattoos maximum
Yeah.
in
I think
Western Australia?
I think 4 shops, maybe 5.
Wow. Yep. And 1 or 2 people in a shop sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, most of to run 2 hours at that time.
Yep.
And then I took a trip to Adelaide.
Yep.
And met Frank Thompson. Kind of took me under his wing.
Yep. Deliberately to see Frank or just...
I went over there to like tattoo and
Yep.
interested in seeing who was doing what.
Yeah, cool.
Met Les Prudhomme and
Yep.
guys like that. But Frank kind of took me under his wing and that, so I ended up moving to South Australia.
Wow.
And I opened the shop in Port Augusta there.
Yep.
I was there probably 2 years.
Yep.
And then Les Prudhomme's shop in Port Road came up for sale.
Yep.
So I bought that off Les. Port Road for maybe a year and a half.
Yep.
But I really didn't like Adelaide, eh?
Yep.
And there was more money to be made out of the city.
Right.
So I moved back to Waiau.
Okay, yeah, which is BHP Steel Town.
Old town.
Yep. Big port.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, way more money we made.
Yep.
Yeah, like,
Well, what are the guys got to do? They got to work, get drunk, find some hookers and get tattooed.
yeah, and like, we were the only shop there.
Yeah.
And then I think it must have been 85. I met Greg
Yep.
at a convention,
Okay.
and he was going to the Dunstable.
Yep.
A couple of years later, he was going to the Dunstable convention. He asked me if I wanted to come and fill in for him. So I came over to Sydney, Fleet Masters.
Yep.
He came back about a week later. I stayed another week working with him, and then he asked me to come and work permanent.
Nice.
So I did the next 14, 15 years there.
Yeah. Just back to Whyalla a little bit.
Yep.
This is obviously where your friendship with Graham Spence.
Yep.
Can you tell us a bit about Graham? Because he ran the Tattooed Nights.
He's not when I first got there.
Yep.
He was just a mad collector.
Yep.
Then, I don't know if you know Colin Cranes.
Yes. Yep. From Melbourne, Dandenong. Yep.
Yeah, but Colin's from Whyalla originally.
Right.
That's where Colin had his first shop.
Okay.
So he was tattooing there originally, and then he moved over to Melbourne.
Yep.
So he had a lot of stuff done with Colin.
Yep.
And when I opened, he started coming in and getting stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, we just became mates.
Yep.
And then we decided to put on the first tattoo show in South Australia.
Air Peninsula.
Peninsula, yeah.
Yep.
And me and Graham ran that for 3 or 4 years before
Yep.
I moved to Sydney, and then Graham kept it going. And then that's when Graham started the tattoo nights after that.
That your old shop, did you close it down or just sell it to someone?
Yeah, look, back in that day, there was no one to sell to.
Yeah.
There was
And I guess you probably, even if there was someone that had to be in the know,
Yeah.
you're not just going to sell it to any dickhead.
Yeah, there was. It's not like today, you know.
Yeah.
You can
Look on Gumtree or
Yeah,
fucking
tattoo shop.
Facebook. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, then we came over here, and yeah, things just kicked off from there.
Yep. Yep. When I remember you saying, like, so what was it like from WA, Adelaide's, not your scene, but you're there, you go to Whyalla, and then, like, coming to King's Cross the first time, even though I know you've lived quite a varied life up until then, did it still have, like, an impact on you?
Yeah, it was nothing like it.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier, it was just that time.
Yep.
Like, it'll never happen again, and
Yep.
it was just hectic.
Yeah, you look at old photos, that photo you pointed out, or even old news clippings, the streets are just rammed.
Yeah. I remember, like, down the hand, me and Greg sent over to get coffee. They couldn't get back in the shop for an hour.
Yeah, wow.
Just packed.
Yeah, and the roads are jam-packed, bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
Yep. When you started off at Sleeve Masters, were you doing the afternoon or the evening shift, or were you just doing...
Oh, just did nights.
Yep.
Always did nights.
Yeah.
We used to work 7 at night till 4 in the morning.
I imagine a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that shift was, okay, it was like any other shop.
Yep.
It was like Kenny ran it by himself.
Yep.
And like the cross didn't come alive till 7.
The sunset.
But like Kenny made enough money to...
Yeah. Keep it going and do anything. I remember Greg saying with Kenny, he was like, just don't annoy me with stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
You deal with it. I don't need to deal with that crap.
Yeah.
If it's important, tell me when I come in.
But even back then, the daytime cross was different to the nighttime cross.
Yeah.
For Masons. Like, the cross always had a reputation for junkies and shit like that.
Yeah.
Not at night.
Right.
You would very rarely see them. They'd be in the day and all that, but
Yep.
the nighttime people were different. They wouldn't tolerate it.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah. You don't want to upset all the punters coming in. You want to keep it running smooth. Who was in that crew then? Because there's obviously an iconic photo of all of you guys. There's you, there's Dave, Fred. I think maybe one's got Joel in it. Greg, Kathy. Like, what was the main in the arm? What was like the core crew? Say the longest period of time.
It might be...
Or who was there when you started?
Okay, when I started, there was Greg, Fred, Kenny,
Yep.
Tad O'Leary,
Mm-hmm.
Joel,
Yep. Where was Leary from again?
Wollongong.
Wollongong, that's right. Yep. Saying you got your neck tattooed when you were 19,
Yep.
which would have been fucking crazy back
40 years.
Yeah. I had half sleeves at 18, and that was considered crazy in the early 90s.
Like,
Let alone-
no one got it. Back then, no one did it.
Yep.
It was like, like we talked about it, no one did hand, face, or neck.
Yep.
Unless you were another tattooist or you were like totally covered and there was nowhere else to go.
Yep.
But now I see a bloke with 2 tattoos and they're here.
Yep.
Like, sorry, really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like even my, my morals have changed slightly. I was always,
Yeah, but as a business owner, you've got to.
adapting with the times.
Like, I personally wouldn't tattoo faces, but
Yeah,
if my guys don't do it, the hell walk in the street and get it. Like,
that's the facts.
if my guys don't want to do it, I'm good with their decision too,
Yeah, yeah,
But you're right, that's how it is now. So when my shop or your shop say we're not going to do it, the next shop down is going to do it, yeah?
or the thousands of backyarders at home.
Yeah.
You're talking about earlier, like when you first got into the industry, like every other tattooers would do their best to persuade you not to enter the industry. And that was just their way of protecting it.
Yeah.
And then once you got through that thing, that was probably its filter system. And then you were saying after a couple of years, you're best mates with these guys.
Yeah, there's like, back in the day, there was no such thing as a pretty shit. But most guys got a machine from somewhere, like Northern America, and they started backyarding.
Yep. I like the fact, like, I was talking to a guy, he goes, I've been tattooed by 65, probably 70 people. And for me, I like the fact that my arms look old and shitty, and they're covered with everything, and there's so much stuff going on. Got some other areas that have got real nice tattooing, my back and my legs and stuff. But I like the fact that my arms and chest or whatever show that I come from a time where it was different. They're not just cool and perfectly planned out,
Well, that's where me and Greg, the sleep masters were awful. Like, just back in the day, go in, like, there was no spend 3 days to design the sleeve, yeah? Like, people would come in, they would get a tattoo here, and they would get a tattoo here, and they would get a tattoo here. And me and Greg worked out how to join everything together.
Yeah. Yep.
Just for the sleeve master thing. Well, when I first went to America, I was going there to work, do customers. Like, second or third time I went, I was tattooing American tattooers.
Yeah, awesome.
Just joining the shit up for them.
Yep. Yeah, because it was very much. Even the guy that taught me to tattoo, Charlie, my arms were just stamps everywhere. And
that's how it was done.
Yeah, and he didn't have the ability to put it all together. So I had to go and get someone else to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's where me and Greg worked there. Yeah. So you would come in, you would have tattoo here, and we could sleeve it.
Yep. Yeah. Good times. Yeah, and that was the changing of everything as well. Like, big work started, like a sleeve was fucking crazy back in the day.
But the difference between like what we were doing back then and now is, like I said, we didn't design a sleeve. We just sit there and draw up, and like we had to look at what you got.
Yep.
And get a pen and start
on the spot.
Yeah.
Can't say, oh mate, come back in 2 days.
Yeah.
Remember that bullshit law they tried to bring in, a 3-day cooling period years ago?
So you had to, and we had like tricks and shit we used.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Like how to make waves.
Yep. Yeah, the bubble clouds and the lightning
and the flowing skulls.
Yep. Yeah, mate, the flowing skulls. I think they're definitely an Aussie thing, and probably more than anywhere else a Sydney thing, and a cross thing.
But they got because you got a tattoo here, and
you
can feel that.
Yeah. What were some of your favourite things to tattoo over the years? I know, done everything, but did you have a favourite or just enjoy tattooing?
Yeah, just everything.
Yeah.
Oh, like back then it wasn't like today. You couldn't have a style. You had to be able to do what came in. You can't go, I know what to do, black and white.
Yeah.
I'm specialised in colour.
Yeah. Well, you specialised in tattooing.
Yeah.
I remember like talking with Greg and interviewing Greg and talking about things, and he was like, Tony put all the bells and whistles into his tattoos. Everything was wall to wall. He went the extra mile and did the white here, the white there, tips to the end. And he goes, but he had a different clientele to us. And he goes,
Let's see how I saw it, right?
Yep.
Tony did the top of the range, like
Yep.
prestige,
Yep.
like tattoo, right?
Yep.
Max did the basics.
Yep.
Max and Beach did the old school.
Yep. The trad.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
We did everything in between.
Yep.
And there was a lot more of everything in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I remember Greg saying as well, like, he goes, it was quite obvious the first time I met Tony, he didn't like me. But he goes, I never let anyone have a bad word against him or anything like that, because he goes, because as far as I was concerned, we're in the trenches together.
Same industry.
Yeah, doing our thing. And he goes, obviously Greg's a cheeky fucker. He goes, if anything, he should have thanked me and Jeff, because we had to deal with that big in the middle group that he didn't want to deal with.
Like, certain tattooers were jealous or envious.
Yeah.
But they didn't want our customers. They thought they did.
Yeah. But like you said before, like, it, and I think sometimes how, little, like I remember I saw Greg at Dunstable Convention in 1996, right? He's come through the crowd, big flaming red mullet. I was like 21. I was like, fuck, that's Greg Ardron. And I was so intimidated and fucking stoned out of my brain.
Well, yeah, before.
Exactly. And I remember saying to him later on in life,
You're not getting to know the man, you're getting to know
their image.
Yeah, that.
And I remember saying to him, like, later on when we formed a friendship about this, and he goes, oh, you fucking dickhead. You should have come and said hello. You're another Aussie. And then you think, imagine I had of where potentially I could have ended up working there or where life would have gone. And I remember you saying it was hard to get people to work there. People wanted to work there, but
They thought they wanted to work there till it happened.
yeah, and then couldn't deal with it.
Yeah. Because there was no time. There was no time to spend 2 hours drawing this.
Yeah.
You know,
I told you that story. Someone here, he said he took 45 minutes for a fucking walk-in to get ready. And then I went, all right, something's going on here. And I looked at the CCTV, 16 pairs of gloves before you started. And I had to go, hey, maybe you've not been schooled before in how to set up. What you're doing is not normal. And they couldn't handle the pressure here, let alone back then in the cauldron. Yeah. So,
like it sounds bad to you, but to us it was just, that's how it was.
no, it's just thinking on your feet, Jeff. It's being present. All right, cool. I'm going to control this. I'm going to control this. Like before the interview, the manager comes over and goes, someone here's got no money. How are we going to deal with it? And they've already tried to resolve it for half an hour. And then I had to go out and go, oh, what's the story? Blah, blah, blah. They got no money. Someone in the area is going to come and give them money. I went, all right, do they have a mobile phone? Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. Just take their mobile phone. They'll come back with money tomorrow for it.
But like I was saying, well, I look about it now about how busy we were, but at the time, that was just work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
You do it.
yeah, knock off at the end of the day and go, fuck, we're busy. That's
Another day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Or what I've heard happening these days is people will have a good week and then they might work a hard 4 or 5 days one week and then just want to work 2 days the next week. Like, man, come on.
But you got no industry. Like, it's old Frank told me years ago. You got to put away in the good days and the bad. They're not all going to be good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Like I told you before, you and Greg and, you Tim, whenever you Tim dated, but you like, put your view. I'd say this. Like, tattooing doesn't make people. Like, it's not who you are.
Yeah.
It's what you do.
Yeah.
The job. Well, it's a better job than most, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you a star. It doesn't make you any better than anybody else. I've worked with some of the best tattooers of my time, right? And some of them are pricks.
Yep.
And it wouldn't matter if they were a mechanic. They still be a prick.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I've worked with just an average tattooer. They're some of the fucking best mates I've ever had. It's still mates today, you know?
Yeah, totally. And in when we'd go out to Greg's at East Hills, and like before he moved to Mudgee, we went out there like 4 nights in a row. Myself, Gummy, a bunch of other dudes, and we'd like help him pack up the house and everything. And one of the last nights, we're all together in his office, and he's like, "I just want to say thanks, guys. Like, I know you've got a lot out of me and everything, but he goes, I've just got just as much out of you guys." And we all had a big group hug and a fucking tear and everything, and it's a magical thing, and that's it. Like, I know, and I'm grateful of our friendship, Jeff. Greg, but I know you take yourself with a pinch of salt, mate. You don't take yourself too seriously, and you're not in for all that crap.
Well, get back to the same thing. I've been around a long time. Terribly legend. Well, then, no, what? I was just doing what I did.
Yeah,
Well, we didn't do it,
to become a legend.
to make a name for ourselves. We were just working.
Yeah,
And, you got other tattooers coming up today that want to be a legend from the fucking start. Well, do something first.
yeah. It happens. You can't create it.
And it might not happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about the work you put out. It's like about what you do to better the industry. Does that make sense?
100%. Talk about I know the PTA is close to your heart, and what's been your involvement in it over the years? I know you've been state rep, you've been multiple positions throughout it, all for the better of tattooing.
Yeah, I've been
Vice president.
Yeah, I've been on the committee for 30 years, I suppose.
Yep.
Same thing I was talking about. Like, you can't just do great tattoos and think everyone's going to remember you. You've got to do something.
Yeah.
And not just for yourself. You love the industry. You've got to protect it. You've got to support it.
Yeah. Not just think someone else is going to do something. Yeah.
Well, that's the best member we got.
Yeah.
Some other tattooers, they always do. Yeah. Who's going to do this?
Yeah. Were you here in Sydney in the AIDS era?
No, that started when I was in Perth.
Okay. Because I know PTAA back, whoever's listening, in that era then, there was a mad TV ad of a Grim Reaper in the bowling alley just fucking decimating families and kids and all the rest of it. And I know, like, talking to Max and a few others saying tattooing definitely took a dip. But the PTA...
The thing with that AIDS campaign, there was nothing educational about it. It was just a straight out fear thing.
Yeah.
Like, we had to research AIDS back then. Like, you probably have too. And it's not what they want you to think it is. It's manageable.
Probably like COVID right now.
Yeah.
All that crap.
But it's manageable if you're smart and you understand it.
Yeah.
But they didn't want that. They wanted... It was straight out scare campaign.
Yeah, totally. I know then that even there was, like, I've seen stuff, the PTA's put out pamphlets in conjunction with the health department.
All right. The skin penetration guidelines you're working to now.
Yep.
Me and Max helped write them.
There you go. Yep.
And at the time, we copped shit for it. So why are you helping the government, right? You know why we helped the government? Because
rather than them just...
Because they were going to do it. And we had to make the guidelines workable.
Yep.
Like, originally there was no rotaries or that. Right? They wanted us to autoclave that. That was part of their guidelines. So if we hadn't got involved,
Yeah. would be doing now, which is impossible.
Like, well, it's an electrical instrument. You can't autoclave an electrical instrument.
Yeah.
Like, if we hadn't got involved, you'd be wearing a face mask and a full gown and hair nets. And
Yeah, there has to be a workable solution, and without industry involvement, it's always going to go pear shaped. But yeah, like for me, I remember one of the first tattoo shows I ever went to was one of the Melbourne PTAA conventions, and just awesome. Tattoo magazines had just come out, all this sort of stuff.
I loved about the early PGA, there was no working tattooers.
Yeah,
It was a get together.
yeah,
It was like every tattooist from wherever. It was like a yearly meetup.
yeah,
You meet your mates from, like, we had like shows, judging awards and stuff, but it was more of a art point,
yeah. Even if people had booths and stuff set up, it was a hangout. Not many people.
Yeah, but the original one is there was no working tattooist.
Yeah,
It was, the daytime was judging,
yeah,
nighttime was a dinner,
Yep.
and presentation.
yeah,
But it gives us a chance to, like guys like me that were in Adelaide, to catch up with Greg, catch up
Yep.
with Pete Davidson, catch up with like Patsy and Graham Wallace, like guys you wouldn't see all year, And like I said, at the time it was like today. There was no Zooms.
yeah, yeah. Very, very different. Like, New South Wales, PTA is always like, Mooney's the man now and has been like looking after New South Wales. You strong in it as always. I've always organised the meetings out at St Mary's. Like, we used to get a carload and head on out there, and amazing times. We had meetings up the AGM up the road last year. We've had meetings here. New South Wales, that big party in Newtown that time, always had a really good, strong membership in New South Wales. And young crew always want to come along, and you, Mooney, have always been very accommodating with younger artists. Give them the time of day, tell them some stories, have a chat, which is, mate, amazing.
It's like now, like, I've been doing it. I've been a member 35 years, but I've been a committee member for 25 years.
Yeah,
It's time for someone else to come and do it.
yeah,
Time for some of you younger guys to step up and do the younger stuff,
yeah, yeah. Well, what we're trying to do here is we want to do out here like a PTAA art show. So get Gummy onto it, and like we all do A3 bit of flash or whatever and crank it out here. Also, I want to do a tattoo history one. And, the PTA is going to be a dominant force in the storytelling of Sydney's history, because you can't deny it. It's always been there. All you guys, I know Tony's been a member on and off, but Gazebo Hotel, first convention's always PTAA. Yourself, Max, Mooney, Dave Rand, all members of it, all like flying the flag, doing good. So that's something to look forward to.
That's like the young guys. What's in it for me? It's not about what's in it for you.
Yeah.
It's about what can you contribute to the industry.
In the words of Uncle Sam, it's not what the country can do for you, it's what you can do for your country.
I don't know if it's a younger generation mindset.
Yeah, I think so.
Me.
I think so. Like, yeah. And maybe
Well,
that's...
doesn't have any drama if some young tattooist wants to ask me something. I'll tell them, right?
Yep.
But like, I'll see some and they'll be doing something, I'll go, mate, why don't you try this? Oh, yeah, I know. You can't teach someone who knows it. Well, even today, like I said, I've been doing it for 40 years. I still learn stuff.
Yep. Well, just look at that thing I put on.
Like with tattooing, Reece, the day you think you know it all, it's time to quit.
For sure.
You're never going to get any better. And what's the point? You know it all.
Well, here we go. Here's this one. The one I put on the other day on Instagram of Jeff. Like, this one got like fucking hell, like over 25 comments. like everyone loving it. Like just there's a hunger out there for it. So what I want to try, like this here today, is talking to you is not to blow smoke up your ass, but just document the facts, and put it up there and get it out there. And there is a big vacuum that people want to be filled. And maybe that's going to be one of your roles in the future as part of all of that, because
You want to know something first?
yeah, you're still a physical person that people can meet and talk to between now and then, rather than just buying an American book and looking at it and making up some fantasy about whoever this guy was.
And like for me, the shit I know, okay, like Jimmy and Daniel know most of it.
Yep.
When I die, it's gone.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Like,
That's why stuff like this to me is important.
and in 50 years, it's coming on around. You guys don't know it.
Like I think the last maybe like Pucker, like Dan, Jimmy, our generations are probably maybe some tattooers in their 30s have the tail end of it, of the magic or whatever, or of the real love. The rest, it's just going to be a diluted, almost fantasy.
Well, like I said to you earlier, in my opinion, there are not many tattoos left.
Yeah.
There are people that can do an amazing tattoo.
Yeah.
But they are losing the trade, the understanding of the trade. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the overall skill set of
how to build a machine, how to keep a machine running, how to like make needles,
the craftsmanship.
like these pre-made needles. I'll tell you one of the first things I ever got told when I started tattooing, right, was never use a needle you haven't made yourself. I don't know if you got told.
Yeah, for sure. Or you were only as good as the needle you made as well, or the machine you churned, or the ink you mixed.
It's like a racing car driver. How can you be a good racing car driver if you do not understand the car you drive? So how a tattooist has got to understand his equipment.
Yeah, fundamentals.
And I understand the argument is like, why would bother learning to make needles when I can buy needles? But yeah, it's part of the trade.
Yeah, it's a greater understanding. And if you're a traditional tattoo artist, so to speak, making your career off old school designs, why are you doing it with rotary? At least learn why you're doing it with a plastic tube. We all know a steel tube, and these days, unfortunately, a good pre-made needle and a steel tube and a coil is going to deliver it better, faster, and more saturated than plastic tube and a rotary, and people will want to something without that.
That's not hard to make a needle. What you know to do, it's not hard.
Yeah, but that's then
Low and monotone.
then you're diluting the tradition that you stand behind so much and you've built your career on. So maybe have that greater understanding. Learn how to repair a clip cord. Learn how to cut a spring, repair a machine. You're going to get some sort of self-enjoyment and fulfillment out of it. Ask someone how to do it. You're going to gladly pass that information on. And that's the key. That's what's missing in today, because apprenticeships have been diluted so much.
It doesn't mean when you talk to young guys, you go talk about Frank or like the old guys, Frank Collins, and they don't know who they are, right?
Yeah.
For one guys like that, you would have no industry.
Yep, for sure. What I personally find crazy is there's a big hard on for tattoo history right now. And no disrespect to the younger guys, they all want design sheets because it's a monetary thing. I can make money off that design sheet, right?
Man, I've thrown boxes.
Yeah, you would have burned stencils, everything, the whole lot. But so my understanding from a greater love of it is yep, I've got a great collection of design cheats. I want design cheats too, but also I want the machines. Like I've got Greg's needle making setup. I've got Bob Wood's needle box with tubes and needles and Millard needles and all the rest of it in it. To me, they're priceless. I want the machines as well to study how they're being tuned. Bob was an amazing tattooer, amazing machine man. So was Greg. You can learn from this stuff. And to me,
Those are the guys,
that's where the magics happen. That,
the guys that work me, they're not young tattoo.
yeah,
I still got to tune their machines.
yeah,
Like, yeah. Me and Greg learned, you can hear it.
yeah.
And they still.
And you know yourself, man, when a machine's tuned well, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, but
And you walk in, you know that tattooer knows what he's on about.
this is the stuff that's vanishing.
I think, unfortunately, in maybe 10 years, coils will be this much, you know, because it's just a convenient.
Still put it in there.
100% they do. Yeah, 100%. And that, you know, we were talking about it before off camera. Like, unfortunately now, what I see is getting lost is, especially with all this cartridge business, maybe for some fine line stuff and realism and black and grey, you can pull a nice line with it. If you're trying to do a big 14 needle outline or a 9 or an 11 with a cartridge, I'm yet to be fully convinced and see the majority of tattooers,
Why do you have to put a 9 needle outline?
because that's what we've been conditioned to think these days, you know. But
Like I said, we only ever used a 3 needle.
yeah,
And if you wanted to fucking,
boost it up, maybe a 5.
if you wanted to boost over, you use 7 needle ring.
Yeah,
Power on it.
but that's even like a solid power line now. A lot of stuff I see, and you can even see when it comes in a shop from other tattooers.
Look at some of these guys that specialise in what they call traditional, right?
Yep.
And they're using 9 needle outline. What? Why are you doing that? I say it has a thick outline. Yeah, but that outline wasn't that thick.
Yeah.
When we
Study the photos.
bred.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a traditional tattoo that's 20 years old and it started as a 3 needle outline and now it's this wide. So if you put a 9 needle outline, 20 years it's going to be this wide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Magical.
I've never understood why they want to go back to traditional. Well, I'll explain this to you. When I came into tattooing, it was ultra traditional, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's what they could do.
Yep. And then the fine lines came in.
And then we came in and tried to make tattooing, tried to push it a little bit further. And
Yep.
we were doing shit that was totally different to what was been done before, right? And then the guys that come after me pushed it further, right? Why didn't you want to go back to what was before me? Does that make sense?
There is 100%. There is a good movement going on at the moment. There's a guy, I think he's over in Spain. He runs like an online thing called Sleaze Gang or Sleaze Magazine, and it's all like 90s style tattooing. There's a bunch of guys in Italy, a few here, a few in the States where they're going back to 90s style wizards, castles, lightning bolts. And it's like, fuck, man, this is what I grew up tattooing on.
Was it amazing? I want to go back, start working again. I'm going to do what I did.
Yeah. Yep.
You got guys out there making a fortune out of traditional. Well, that's what I did.
Yep. So
I feel I'm going to specialise.
Specialise in Jeff's tattoos.
In really small expense.
Of course. So anyone that's listening to this,
Nah.
Jeff's setting up a time warp machine and he's doing what he wants to do, so you can hit him up and go and get something cool from him. But you got to bring a bottle of Sambuca.
Get a pre-Chico roll in the Passion.
Hey, see, that's customer service that is long gone.
I ain't never can still buy Passion.
I'm sure some novelty store would have it, but you can still get a Chico roll, thank God. I remember when I come back from living overseas, I was away for 8 years, all I wanted was fried dim sims and to hear an Aussie wog accent. So I went to the first fish and chip shop. So I made a minimum chips and 4 fried dim sims. what are you doing, mate? What do you want? I'm like, oh, yes, I'm home. I'm home. Um, I know you gave us that Peter Couchman tape before. I remember the convention that was at the Ocean Blue Resort on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Must have been 95, 96, 97 or something. Is there a tape of that floating?
I've got some more tape of it. I'll see finally. I've got an uncut of.
Because that'd be cool to see. I know Rocky reckons he's got footage of like the Lone Wolf shows. And he reckons he was rocking around with a camera and he was getting hassled, mate, what the fuck are you doing with that camera? He's like, no, that's okay. Said it's all right for me to film. And I know I just can't film any faces. But that Ocean Blue one would be amazing to see as well. Because it's such a cool snapshot in time of what
I've
television.
got an entire convention. I don't know which one it is. It might be in Melbourne.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Get that converted. Because,
Like I said, it's 5-hour tape. It's uncut.
mate, that will be music to my ears, mate. Like that sort of stuff. Because we've got access to photo albums, designs, machines to you, but we don't really have access to a lot of video footage because it wasn't around back then, or not much of it. Someone to have a video coming out and be rich, you know,
It's like,
or it fell off the back of a truck.
no, they should haven't. But like Fred's fucking birthday that went up on YouTube is like,
Yep.
it's good.
Yeah, mate, it's amazing because you guys were such a tight knit family as well. You know, I remember you saying one time, like, you work together, you party together, you know, you had Christmas Day together, all this sort of stuff. So it was, and you know, at that
We
time,
were just working together. We're mates.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Which just made it easier to work the way we did.
Yeah, and I imagine even though, you know, Greg was whatever, like, you're still on the same level.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the key.
And like, I can't remember ever any of us arguing, you know?
Yep, yeah.
We were just mates. We go to work and had fun.
Yep.
And like I was saying to you before, it's how different it was. You know, there'd be 4 of us tattooing in a room. It's me, not much bigger than that. So you had to get on, you know what I mean? There was no room for egos or...
Yep. Yeah, and if there was, it'd be so there's so many iconic things of Sleeve Masters. One of them is the body on the floor. What's the story behind that?
Okay, I was working in California and Dave Walowski was talking about at a shop in Long Beach.
Yep.
And I was working day shift. There was a couple of guys, Frankie and Hunky, I think, working night shifts.
Yep.
So I'm off of work, go back, do whatever I was doing that night. And the night shift come in, and I turn up in the morning, and Frankie shot a bloke dead in the shop.
Over price discrepancy?
No, he came in with a shotgun and tried to rob the place.
Well, that'll do it.
So when I turned up for work, there was an actual body painted on the floor.
Yep.
So when I came back, that's where it come from.
What I found crazy, like, you know, when I've been to America a few times, met this guy Clark North in Vegas, old fella, went and met his shop, chatting away, and then he goes, just nonchalant, like it's nothing. Have you guys ever seen the world's smallest 22 pistol? Like, no. It's like, oh, here you go. Here you go, hold this. It's not loaded. Like, oh yeah, cool, hand it to my mate. And then my mate's like, wiping his fingerprints off, giving it back to him. And he goes, yeah, I got one in the car in the glove box. I got one in my bedside table, and I got one near the front door. He's going, that's just life here.
I'm over in Walter's house, right? He just opened the drawers. Fucking
Yeah.
Dunsey.
Yep.
Speaking of them 22s, let's do one like that.
Yep.
Remember the old,
Like a cigarette lighter.
remember the old pages? When you
Yep.
she used to fold into a fake pager and then
Crazy.
for 22 shorts.
Yep.
Oh, 6-shot revolver.
Yep. Yeah, crazy stuff, eh?
And if I can remember, I'll show you a fucking, when I was like married and fucking, I'll show you a marriage wedding photo I've got. You mean Macca? Gary Mack, who was fucking sizing us from Nomads back then. He came over me wedding me. There's pictures of me and him next to a fucking stretch limousine.
Was he at Greg's funeral?
No, he's dead before me.
Yeah.
With two Uzi machine guns.
So obviously you're friends with Rick Walters. How did Rick end up marrying you? Just asking him or knowing he's an ordained minister?
Yeah, I found out he was an ordained minister.
Yep.
Like I said, the talent becomes your life.
Yeah.
Or I had to get married, or I was being tattooed.
I loved about what you said before, Jeff, like, tattooing after however many years, 5 years or 10 years away from WA, you went back and it's just led you on this amazing journey, more so than if you had stayed there, Peter. And, I feel the same. It's a gifted life. And I think...
I left school at 15. I married at 16, had a kid.
Yeah.
Like, if I wasn't for tattooing, I would have had no future.
Yeah.
Like, tattooing has given me an amazing life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you've got to respect it and be good to it.
Yeah. What's the old saying? You be good to tattooing and it'll be good to you. So, yeah. Well, we could sit here all night, Jeff. There'll obviously be a part 2 at some point. Thanks for your time today. Any final messages or anything we want to leave on? I've got something for what some of the best advice. You've given me a lot of good advice over the years. One of the best advices you gave to me was, I remember you saying to me ages ago, Reese, your problem is you want the best for everyone. And not everyone wants the best for themselves. So don't want the best for everyone. And you don't want everyone to be on the A team. It's got to be B team and C team.
Yeah.
And it's worked. I took that to heart and it's good, And that's something that if you hadn't have come along and said that, I'd still be putting my heart and soul into everything and everyone and getting disappointed. So
people are different. People, different aspects, different games, different whatever you want to call it.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
Best advice Frankie ever gave me. I used to complain about people that work for me and sometimes they actually think wrong.
Yeah.
And like Frank said to me, you just got to put up with that.
Yeah.
They're not all. Stop trying to make them be what you are, because they're not, and you don't really ever want them to be. They just want them to be themselves.
Yeah, very true.
Well, run the shop's hard. I said to you earlier, I used to think it was equivalent to running kindergarten.
Yep.
But I've had a kid that went to kindergarten, and kindergarten is much more organised.
Yep. Less issues.
Yeah. Like they know when they have a nap and
when they're going to get fed.
Yeah, when it's time to go home. That's the beauty of tattooing. There's many different personalities in it.
That's one of the things I love the most about it. Especially my clients. So many different people from all walks of life now.
It was like accountants. I think an accountant, one's pretty much the same as the next. You meet tattooers, what you're going to get.
Yep. Yeah.
They're all different personalities. They're all different styles. They're all,
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right, mate. I love you. Thank you. Good times.